Welcome to the Kerry Football Podcast. Very special episode today in partnership with GMIB.ie. I'm here at the Fitzgerald Stadium in Killarney for a conversation and a bit of a kick around with one of the greatest Kerry players of all time. Hi Louise, how are you?
Good, thanks Adam, how are you?
Very good, thanks. Thanks for coming today.
You're very welcome, thanks for having me.
So I'm looking forward to having a chat with you about the All-Ireland, about your career, about maybe what's going to happen next year, if you'll tell me, or if you're not sick of answering the question. But before we do, we have the pitch, we have a few balls. Do you fancy taking a few kicks?
Yeah, absolutely, why not?
So I was thinking that, well, I'm probably beyond helping, but maybe you can show us your kicking routine, tell us a bit how you practice your frees. So how often do you go kicking on your own?
I suppose it depends on how the body is feeling. I suppose a few years ago I would have gone maybe once outside of training and then would have showed up early to training about an hour and a half or something beforehand, maybe go kicking with Darragh for maybe half an hour. He did a lot of work with me over the past few years with free taking and just getting the technique right, and then the rest follows really, just to get the technique right and the routine. So yeah, towards the latter stages of the championship, try to get out a bit before trainings, maybe once a week. But again, it depended on the body and how it was holding up at the time.
What's the first thing that goes through your mind when the free is awarded?
I try to get into my own zone and try and block out noise and the crowd as much as I can. And then if I'm a bit out of breath, I try and get my breath back as quick as I can, and then pick up the ball and go through the usual routine. Yeah,
can you show us the routine? What do you do first?
Yeah, so I line up my shoulder to wherever I want the ball to land really, and aim at that direction. So line up the shoulder first, then I'll take a look at the ground and pick a spot in the ground where I'm going to kick from. And then I'll take a hop, a solo, I swirl the ball, have the valve facing up. Then I take one last look at the post, and I do it all, swerve with the ball, and then take my 3 steps and kick. Head down, follow through as well. So Darragh has actually drilled into me the last few years. So I try and go through that routine, even for close in frees or far out, doesn't really matter. The routine stays the same, and the follow through is really important, and head down. So.
Let's see if any of that rubbed off on me. Do you fancy taking a few more from maybe different angles?
Yeah, let's go for it. Is that over, Quill? Just about.
So Louise, as we're here in the Fitzgerald Stadium, and we might as well talk about it a bit. I'm sure you're very happy memories of playing here. Where does it rank for you in terms of your favourite stadiums?
Fitzgerald Stadium is up there with one of the best stadiums that I've played at. The sun is shining, blue skies today. You can't really get any better, apart from Gaeilge, of course, on a fine day. But no, we've good and bad memories here. But majority of the time, it's been good in Fitzgerald Stadium, and yeah. Always loved playing here.
Yeah, it's magic on a day like this, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
So there's loads I want to talk to you about, but let's start by going all the ways back to your childhood, back in West Kerry. Can you tell me a bit about growing up back there, a bit about your family, and obviously growing up with the Irish as well?
Yeah, so there's myself, Colm, my brother, and mum and dad, and grew up in Ortnacarna, a beautiful spot back in the Gaeilge in Ballinterrig, and a place I hold very dear to my heart. definitely I've said it a few times before, it's the most beautiful place in the world, and I'd love to be back there now on a day like today, heading down to the beach. But had a great childhood. My cousin from America used to come over every summer for definitely the bones of 10 years, and it was always the three of us, and playing outside in the garden, going down to the beach for hours, playing with the tractors and whatnot, and going for swims. But a very happy memory from my childhood, and kicking about with Colm in the back garden and Dad as well. So very special people back there, and I love it.
What's your relationship with Irish like now? Because obviously you grew up with it, it was your first language. You're a teacher as well, so I know that plays a part as well. Do you get to speak Irish much on a daily basis?
Anytime I speak to my family, it's always Oscailin, and my friends from home, it would be always Oscailin as well. Something I hold very dear to my heart as well. Very proud to have been brought up with Irish and to have grown up in a beautiful Gaeilge area. I am a secondary school teacher in Mount Hawk, PE in Irish, so it's part of my job to keep the language alive inside and outside of the school, and that's something that I'd love to keep doing, there's Gaeilge School and Gaeilge Cláistí, and I love seeing them schools grow and grow every year, because I know that those kids are going to be speaking Irish on a daily basis, and hoping that they have the love of the language to keep it going. And obviously the Gaeilge areas around Ireland, we're trying to keep it alive in those areas and kind of spread the Irish language anywhere we go, and very proud to be a Gaeilgeoir.
Are you optimistic about the future of Irish?
I am, yeah. Look, dealing with kids on a daily basis and trying to instill the grow in them, and as much as I can. They do find it difficult at times, but it's part of our culture and our heritage, so trying to keep it going and keep the language alive, and of course I'm optimistic for it.
What about the football then? Was it always a big part of your life? Like, where did the love for football come from?
Yeah, big time. I think sport was a massive part of our life at home. Back in the Gaeilge, there was always you were out playing something, be it football. We threw our hand at handball as well. Father Kieran O'Brien and Eileen Lewing did great work with us for a few years playing handball. We had great memories of that. Basketball was played as well. It was always outside playing something. But football, I think when we went to primary school, we had Liam Moynihan as our principal, and we were very, very lucky to have him, because all he had in the brain was football, and we had no choice but to play it. And I think he instilled the love of the game in us, and that has kept going.
When did you first know that you wanted to play for Kerry, or was it always there?
I suppose I played with Killarney when I was about 11 or 12, I think, and wearing the Kerry jersey brought great pride to the family, I suppose. And I think since then, just a dream of mine to have gone through the ranks, 14, 16 minor and play senior. But probably when I first threw it on with the Killarney, that was something I loved and wanted to keep doing.
Do you remember a point coming where you thought, okay, actually, I actually might play for Kerry one day? Did that ever cross your mind when you were young?
I don't know. I think I just enjoyed playing the game, to be honest, in the garden with Colm, and then obviously in school, and went on to play with Corcoran as well. And I think at the time when we were younger, we just enjoyed playing it and enjoying making friends and having the crack, going to games, and there was not much pressure. But I suppose it kind of crept in then with Killarney and wanted to keep going.
So when did you first get called into the Kerry Seniors?
So I think I was about 14 or 15, I think.
14?
I didn't make the under-16 panel. I was about 14, I suppose. Didn't make the panel. So Robbie Griffin brought me in for a bit of training with the seniors, and it was a bit surreal at the time, lining up with the likes of Geraldine O'Shea, Gráinne Lahart and Nassani Hulvan from my own club.
14 is really young. Like, were the players looking at you going like, who's like 14 is so young for that?
They probably were, and they're probably like, here, what's she doing here, I suppose. But I think when I didn't make the 16 panel, Robbie kind of felt, okay, we'll bring her in for a bit of training. And then after a few weeks, the under 16 manager approached me at a senior game when I was watching them play, and he said that there was a spot there for me if I wanted it. So I obviously jumped to it, and probably I think I took a break from the seniors then, I'd say, when I was back with them, the 16s, and trained away when I was 15 then, but our under 16 manager for the second time pulled me back because it was a bit too much, and then went in for good then when I was 16, and yeah, didn't look back then.
So when was your actual debut for the seniors?
When I was 16 back in 2008 against Gaeilge.
Do you remember much about it? What kind of game was it?
The most I remember from it is that I had to actually give up handball. That weekend, Robbie Griffin gave me a choice of if I went playing handball in a team of 10 with Munster on the Saturday, I wouldn't start with Kerry on the Sunday.
Oh, right.
So I kind of decided, right, I won't play the handball, and I play the game on Sunday, and that was the end of handball, but the start of a career with the Kerry senior ladies.
How professional was the setup at the time compared to now? I know it's, 16 years ago, 17 years ago. Did you have much give and take? Like, what was the situation like?
Compared to now, it wasn't great, I suppose. Remember we were training actually outside here on the grass patch. We would never get in here anyway.
Right, yeah.
So we'd be outside there training, and then we used to be training up the patch of grass in the Gaeilge. We'd be training out in the back pitch in Fossa, and you wouldn't get changed in those cabins inside there at the time. So things, I suppose, weren't great, but thankfully they've improved massively since.
How frustrating was it for you and your teammates looking at the men's teams, getting looked after a lot better? Did it hurt you at the time?
Yeah, it would, of course. Like, we see ourselves as the same as the men. We put in the same amount of training and effort and put our lives on hold, probably even more. If women want to have kids or whatever and do that part of their lives, because you got to stall it if you're playing football. But yeah, it would have been frustrating, seeing the men get this, that, and the other, and we'd be kind of fighting to get small things, even like meals. But thankfully, as I said, things have massively improved, and both county boards are working really well together now, and it's looking really good for the future and for the next generation, thankfully.
So the first maybe 10 years with Kerry, there would have been a lot of ups and downs. I know you got to the final in 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Probably more downs than ups maybe in the first 10 years. When you're on the road like that for that long, maybe not getting the rewards you would like to, what kept you going all that time?
I think just the love of the sport, and obviously having that dream to win in All-Ireland kind of always brought us back year in, year out, hoping that we could get to the next level and next step each year. And again, yeah, trying to fulfill a lifelong dream of winning in Ireland really brought us back year in, year out.
Darragh and Declan Quill came in, I think it was 2019, did they come in and do a bit of coaching?
They came into help, yeah, towards the end of the year, yeah.
And then they took over properly in 2020. So I know from listening to a lot of you and your teammates, you say that was a turning point for you. What did Darragh and Declan bring, and was it like an immediate effect that they had?
Yeah, I think since the get-go, since they came in to help us in 2019, we just saw something really different in them compared to previous managements. The passion they brought, the energy they brought was second to none, really. And we knew they were genuinely interested in us as people and as players, and wanted to achieve the best for us. And they wanted us to reach our full potential, and they really helped us do that. But yeah, thankfully they came in 2020. They could have stayed on with the minors, but I think for the future of Kerry ladies, I think it was a step that they had to take the seniors, and now we know that it worked out in our favour, and we're very, very grateful for what they have done for us as a group, and we owe them everything.
One of the words that's used a lot in terms of Darragh and Declan is that they brought confidence to the team. So at the time, maybe 2018, was it the quarter final you got to in 19?
Yeah.
So and Dublin would have beaten you that year. Probably didn't feel like you were that close to an All-Ireland. So how did they take you from that point where you're not really close to get you to believe that you could actually do it? What did they say to you? What did they drill into you?
I think they just brought that passion they brought, and They just brought the energy. They instilled belief in us right away. You know, they had a big, massive hill to climb with us as a group, especially the older players. We had hit rock bottom by the time they had come in, and think just they really helped the older players first and instilled the belief in us that we could actually achieve what we always wanted to achieve. And then they brought in a brilliant group of young players that brought so much fearlessness and energy to the group. And then I think it just worked hand in hand, the older players and the younger players. And like the management team they brought in was something else. You know, you had the likes of Anne-Marie O'Donoghue, Geraldine O'Shea, Cassandra Buckley. And they were just legends of the game, and just all five of them worked so well together. They were just unbelievable for us from the get-go, and they really did instill that belief in us, and they had us dreaming again.
You reached the final in 22, lost to Meath, again in 23, lost to Dublin. At that point, in spite of all the confidence you had as a group, you still came short on those two occasions. Where were you psychologically, especially after the Dublin game? It must have just been a massive blow. In general, how do you deal with defeat? Are you the type of person that can park it, or does it stay with you?
No, I wouldn't be a great one to deal with defeats, but I think a lot of the team would be very, very similar. You know, we take it fairly badly, and the management would have as well. So kind of had that connection there that we weren't great people to deal with defeats, but also going back to the 22 final, I think it was a massive achievement for us to get to a final, and we kind of saw that as an achievement. You know, it wasn't great to lose it, but the 23 final really hit us very, very hard, and it took us a long time to get over it. You know, even during this year, it would still creep up on you and come back to kind of haunt you a bit, but we really had to get over it and kind of move on and learn from it. And management were great for that as well, and the people they brought in with them this year, they just brought more energy as well, and it was just kind of move on, next step, and kind of game by game this year. And the motto was go one more, and we really did learn from last year, thankfully, and got our hands on Brendan Martin this year.
So before you came to the decision to go one more with the boys, was there a stage in your head where you were actually retired last year, do you think?
Yeah, straight away after the final whistle.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It was crushing, really, to be honest, losing that final. We felt we had done everything right. With Chief for being injured, I got an opportunity to actually kind of captain the team as well on the day, and something that I never would have thought would have been possible. Myself and Chief running out in the field was special, but unfortunately didn't go our way, and it didn't look good at all. Management were probably going to step away as well, and personally I couldn't have seen myself carrying on without them, but thankfully we kind of recuperated and regrouped, and we had a meeting, a few of the older players with Darragh and Declan, and maybe for about 2 hours we sat down and kind of chatted and kind of discussed, if we did go another year, who was coming back, who would we bring in, kind of thing. And I think after that meeting we all promised ourselves and each other that we'd dig deeper than we've ever dug before, going into the 2024 season, and we just did say we'd go another year and see where it took us.
When the 2024 season started, as it was moving along, what were confidence levels like? Did you feel that you had a good chance?
Yeah, of course. Like, you'd have to go in fresh every single season you go back. You have to be very confident, I suppose. But there's a long kind of 9 months there when you go back training to possible All-Ireland final, and we couldn't think too far ahead. We did map it on the calendar, and we knew what our main goals were. But again, we had to take it game by game, week by week, and kind of up it every single week and learn from every game. We treated the league this year to give girls plenty of game time, and I think that really helped us in the championship this year.
So you reached the final, it's Galway the opposition. What was your own mindset going into that game, having lost the two previously? Were you more or less nervous than you would have been normally? Were you thinking about the possibility of losing a third final in a row?
I think that probably creeped into the mind, but it creeped back out fairly lively again. You know, we couldn't think of that too much. But yeah, I think everyone was everyone was relaxed, and I think, you know, that came from the top down, from the management down, you know, and whatever way they were feeling, even at training, you know, it creeped into the team. You know, every session was brilliant. We'd have the crack. Everyone was buzzing leading up to the final. It was just brilliant. It was a great 2 weeks. When you go back to the semi-final, it wasn't great. You know, it was semi-final was there to be won, and you know, there was more nerves with that game than the final, I think. And Joe Eric, our S&C this year, was just brilliant. He had the weeks planned out to a T. Every session was planned to a T. He's definitely one of the best in the business. And you know, he was just always next step in the ladder, and we treated the final as just the next game and next step.
It obviously went extremely well. You built up a 5-point lead. Next thing it was 8 points after Aoife Delan's goal. 8-point lead half time in the final. Like, could you believe what position you were in at that stage?
No, you know, we knew Galway would be very tough. They had beaten Dublin, they had beaten Cork on the way. You know, they knew we knew the calibre of players they had. But every game this year, the management team had the matchups down to a T, and we trusted in that. We trusted the process. We trusted what we had done, what we had trained for, in every single session that was geared for the final. And yeah, it just was a dream day. You know, we're up by 5. Delan kicked a beauty of a goal, we'll have to say. We'll have to give it that much. And yeah, I just remember everyone sprinting in to the dressing room at half time. The lads hitting us in the backs, high-fiving. You know, everyone was really up for it. But then we had to kind of calm ourselves down in the dressing room at half time, because Joe, we were only halfway there, and Joe, ladies football can change just like that. And we knew Galway would come at us in the second half, and Joe, they did early on. But I think we were also cool on the day, and just, again, we just trusted the process and stayed very, very calm, and we just had that belief that it would be our day.
So there's just under 4 minutes to go in the game. You're up, I think, 13 or 14 points. Emma Deneen has just scored a goal. Darragh and Declan decide to take you off to get an ovation, basically. It was an emotional moment, I think, for everybody watching it. I was emotional myself in the crowd watching it. When you think back about it, like, what kind of feeling was that coming off the pitch at that time?
Yeah, it was a fairly surreal moment. Emma had just stuck the ball in the back of net. Joe cool out, and Joe just felt, we actually have this done. And then I was told that I was coming off, so I think I ran as fast as I could.
You sprinted off.
Yeah, for an old one, I don't think I've ever ran as fast in my life. All I wanted to do was just jump into the arms of Darragh and Declan and just thank them for what they had done for us, and, you know, getting us over that line and getting us to the promised land. And yeah, it was just very special. They actually said that it was Ahmad, one of my best friends, the selector, that actually kind of made the call to take me off. And yeah, it was very special, and a moment I'll never forget.
And then you had the trophy lift, Niamh Carmody first, obviously, which was an unbelievable moment. You went up last. That was
made go last by Kaylee Cronin.
I was thinking that it wouldn't be your plan, but again, another unbelievable moment. Like, the whole stadium was just glued to it. I think probably the whole country who watches football was glued to it. It must have just been a euphoric feeling to get your hands on the trophy.
Yeah, you know, for years, I suppose we've all dreamt of climbing the steps of the Hogan stand and getting our hands on Brendan Martin, and Joe's it wasn't, I suppose, on the radar for years, Joe, when things weren't good. But then, you know, on 4th of August 24, the dream became a reality, and Jesus, seeing Niamh Carmody lift the cup, it was just like, has this actually happened, you know? And then seeing everyone just lifted, and just the absolute sheer happiness on everyone's faces, and then getting a chance to kiss Brendan Martin and lift it was just something I'll never forget. And yeah, something I've dreamt of for years, and finally making that dream become a reality was really, really special. And yeah, just a brilliant time.
It's probably a stupid question, but did it make everything else in your career that you went through worthwhile?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, straight away the defeats and the heartbreak was wiped out. the sheer happiness and pure relief that we had finally gotten over the line. And I just felt so lucky and privileged to have been in that position and to have shared that moment with such a special group and a special team that will be very close to my heart forevermore.
So then you had the homecoming, which was crazy as well, massive numbers in Killarney for that. You got to take the trophy all over the country, back to West Kerry, to your own place, back to North Kerry. The crowds that came out were unbelievable. What was that like for you and your teammates to see that, and what does it say about where Kerry ladies football has come over the course of your career?
Yeah, it's something that we're very proud of. The support that we've gotten the last few years has been unbelievable. You know, seeing the crowds at quarter-final stage the last 2 years in Stack Park, seeing a full Stack Park, something you always dream of, but never thought that would become a reality. But yeah, God, when we came into Killarney, turning the corner there at the roundabout, we thought, oh, geez, the crowd are going to follow the bus into the glebe. But then when we turned the corner and saw the crowd in the glebe, we just couldn't believe it. Hannah Calvin was standing beside me. She just started bawling.
Really?
It was something so special and something that we could have only have dreamt of. But yeah, it was unbelievable. And just hearing the crowd when we came off the bus and just meeting our family and our parents again to the right-hand side of the stage was something really special. And yeah, the crowds we got everywhere, bringing it back to Finnoog and Ballylongford for near Carnbury was just epic altogether. And then obviously bringing it back west to, I just felt so lucky to have gotten a chance to bring it back home so soon after the final, and I'm very grateful for management to have given myself and Niamh and Kate and Ciara Butler that opportunity to go back west with the cup so soon after the final, and celebrating with our gang back west was something really, really special.
So that's the fan support. What about other elements of the game? Things like media coverage. Do you feel that situation has got better? Do you think the current level of coverage that ladies football gets is fair?
Yeah, I firmly believe it is improved massively. Radio Kerry out every single game. They're being sponsored by different businesses to get the chance to have live commentary at every game, and that's something that never happened. When we first started off, and just even the support we're getting from businesses lately has been unbelievable. We're heading on a team holiday to New York, and we're fundraising at the moment, and these people have been so generous. Businesses back west have been unbelievable. Just businesses everywhere in the county, in Ireland, and even outside of Ireland have been so supportive towards us, and we're just so grateful. Like, we got a check there from GMIB as well today, check of €1,000, and we're asking businesses to help us out, and they're not batting an eyelid. They're just so supportive and generous and kind. We're just so grateful for every business that has supported us. And if there's any business out there that would like to support, we're going to be, I suppose, fundraising until we get onto the plane for New York in the end of October. So yeah, it's just been unbelievable, and just the support we've gotten has been unbelievable altogether.
In terms of the sport itself, ladies football, and obviously your strive to be on equal footing with the men's game, what's the next step in that, and how close do you think that is? I mean, obviously your career is maybe coming towards an end, which might lead me on to my last question, but for young players in the team now that you're playing with, who will still be around in 15 years' time, what will the landscape be like for them in 15 years' time, do you think?
I'd be hoping that they would be equal with the men. I think that's something that we have been fighting for years, and I think that's probably part of our job, as older players as well, to look after the next generation. And majority of the cohort on the senior team are very, very young, and they have long careers ahead of them. So I would be really hoping that they would be equal to the men in a very short few years. Only found out yesterday that going under the one umbrella in 27 is not really looking likely now, which is fairly disappointing. So I'd be hoping that they would try and bring everything under the one umbrella in 2027 like they had promised us. So I'm hopeful for the future for the girls, the next generation, that it will be equal, and things will be much easier for them than what we had to deal with, I suppose, when we were growing up.
I know you've been asked this question probably 100 times today, but I'm going to be the 101st person to ask you.
We're collecting money for that question as well.
What are your plans for next year? Are you going to be here playing for Kerry in 2025?
I'm not sure. There's a bit of thinking to do, I suppose. But look, I'm enjoying every single moment since the 4th of August this year. We've fulfilled our lifelong dream of winning in Ireland and bringing the Brendan Martin back to the Kingdom of Kerry. And we're just enjoying the moment. And I'll enjoy it for another while and see then. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, listen, whatever you decide, congratulations on everything you've achieved this year and throughout your career. And thanks, Moynihan, for speaking to me today.